Marathon session here. This speech just got a number here, so we're not going to get that. How are you doing? I have a puppy that at 8 weeks old had aspiration pneumonia at 8 weeks old. He's now 5 months old and he still has episodes. Sometimes he drinks water so fast he starts acting like he's gasping for air. What could be wrong? He might have megaesophagus. So this is a situation where you have a large esophagus that's kind of too big. And this can cause problems in dogs because it all collects in that and then it regurgitates up. And they have this reflux fit. I never had a puppy with that, so I don't know quite what you do about it. They definitely can do surgery on it. I'm going to guess that you're probably not going to do that, and the puppy will probably get past this. So I would err on not doing anything, but again, you might enlist your vet and ask what the options are and decide whether or not that's good advice. Someone's talking about scamming. They say we already meet with people before you get the money, so I'm not going to tell you too much about this. But there are plenty of scammers out there, and I think the important thing is if you're buying a dog from somebody, FaceTime. Make sure that dog exists. That'll get rid of 95% of the scammers if you FaceTime, because they just physically don't have the puppy. 4 weeks post-breeding, what should pregnant dog's PG level be versus a dog that didn't get pregnant? They'll be the same. PG, progesterone levels, is not an indication of whether a dog is bred or not. It's just an indication of where the dog is in its heat cycle. Whether it's been bred or not, they'll be the same. Dubstep Dolly. What about the fluffy gene? Isn't it something like LL? There's usually a number associated with it. Do parents have to be fluffy? Okay, so let's just talk about fluffies just briefly here. So a dog that is a single carrier of the fluffy gene will have big L, little l. The little l could be associated with a number, typically a 4 if it's a French Bulldog. So typically in French you see either L, sometimes it's called L1, sometimes it's called L4. They are different genes in the same place and have the same effect. It doesn't make a hoot of difference whether a dog is an L1, an L, or an L4. It's a fluffy carrier. If it has 2 copies of either of those, it's a full fluffy. Do both parents have to be fluffy to make fluffies? Well, at least both of them have to at least be fluffy carriers. So any puppy that shows the fluffy coat, visual fluffy, has to get a copy from each parent, which means that each parent has to at the very least have a copy of the fluffy gene. And so there's another question here. I know it's bad to breed 2 merles, but would breeding a merle with a merle carrier give you the best chance of having almost all merle puppies? You're confused. So when you say a merle carrier, that is a merle. A merle should be a single copy of merle. 2 copies of merle is not a good situation to be in because those dogs can have problems with deafness and blindness. So anybody who's doing this right, I don't want to stick my finger up there like that, anybody who's doing this right has a dog that has a single copy of merle. And if you breed a single copy of merle to a non-merle dog, you'll get a litter of half, 1 copy of merle. They will show the merle gene because it's dominant. If you breed a merle to a merle, a quarter of those puppies would have 2 copies of merle and they could have problems. You just don't do this. Dubstep Dolly again. What qualities or features would you consider to be the most desirable in a stud? What makes people choose the studs that they choose? That's a long question. It's going to be hard for me to answer this question just in a simple, few paragraphs here, but I'll have a stab at it. So, quality, structure. You want a dog with good structure and a stud dog. You want a dog that looks correct, is of the weight that you want. It could be a smaller dog, it could be a bigger dog. The breed standard is, for a Frenchie, is 27 pounds or less. I like dogs that are quite a bit less than that. Personally, I like stud dogs that are in that, 18 to 22 pound range. But I want a dog that looks correct. I don't want a dog that looks unbalanced. It wants to have everything in proportion. I don't want to have whack and great big ears. I don't want to have a long neck. I don't want to have a long nose. I don't want to have much of a tail. I don't want to have long legs. I don't want to have a long back. If you've got any of those things, that's not a stud dog for me. Then the next thing after that is DNA. The more DNA the dog has, the more expensive that stud dog is going to be because it can produce a lot of other options. So if you look at my stud dogs, they range in price from a low end of $2,000 to a high end of $12,000. This is a huge range. What's the difference between the $2,000 dog and the $12,000 dog? DNA. They've all got really nice structures because that's why they're my stud dogs. But the difference is the $2,000 dog is a blue sable that carries pied, no brindle. That's it. Very basic blue dog. And he's been around, his name's Winston. He's been around for a long, long time. Has been doing this for 5 years and produces awesome litters of puppies. But he's a blue dog. On the other extreme of this would be Boublier, who is a platinum, full fluffy. And so also a gorgeous dog, really nice structure, especially for fluffies, because the gene pool's not so big on those dogs. But what's the difference between those dogs? DNA and price. There it is.
And structure.
Yes. That was the most, so Tammy's in the background, she says structure. That's the most important thing, structure. They've all got to have good structure. How are we doing on time here? If I was to breed with a full fluffy carrier, if I was going to breed a fluffy carrier, lilac fawn female, and now you give me DNA that says this dog's a lilac, so I'm not sure what you're meaning by this. With a merle fluffy boy, what would I get?
Full fluffy boy?
Yeah, so the merle fluffy boy is, you really got me confused here because your DNA says something completely different than what you're saying. I'm going to go off your DNA. AYAT, 1 copy 10 points. Little d, blue. Little co, cocoa. So that's the girl, bred with a merle who is little a, so that is recessive black. Little co, little d. So this is no brindle. This is a lilac, double A recessive, that carries cream and 1 copy of fluffy. What would you expect to get? Half the dogs will be fluffy carriers. Half the dogs will be merles. All the dogs will be blues. All the dogs will be lilacs. Half the dogs will be 10 points. There you go. So the dog you're using is fine. Jennifer Tribble, could you make a video explaining cream and the E-locus further? I've got a whole video that talks about every single, it's about a 12-part series that talks about every one of these genes individually. So you can go look that up and you'll find everything you want to know about the E gene. Removing dew claws, Christina Fisher. Doing this way, is there a guarantee the dew claw doesn't come back? No. If you don't get the dew claw off properly, it very likely will grow back. I see others using scissors. I do not recommend that you use scissors because they bleed like a stuck pig. Do not use scissors. The dog does not like it. You can do it all with your thumb. The secret to this is that when you get the forceps, you've got to get the forceps behind the joint, and when you do that, you squeeze down it, the thumb will, or the dew claw, which is the thumb, will actually push out a little bit. You know you're in the right place. Then you just scrape that off with your finger and you've removed the dew claw. I occasionally don't get it done right, and those do grow back. So it can happen. Samantha Hunter, our Frenchie is a little over a year old. How do we know when he is ready to produce? Start collecting from him, see if you get a semen sample, and if you can, look it under a microscope and see if it's any good. Samantha Sawyer, is it okay to give my bitch folic acid after 33 days of the AI to prevent cleft palate? You're a bit late. Can't do any harm, so go ahead and give it. But really, the effect of giving folic acid is to stop birth defects, and those birth defects are much more likely to have occurred, in the first month of the pregnancy, not the back month of the pregnancy. So I would go ahead and give it next time. Start giving it the moment you do the AI. I think I'm now up to the point where I covered all these things. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for watching the video. I really appreciate people who subscribe to me. It helps me, encourage me to do more of these videos. But do remember, disclaimer here, I am not a vet. I'm not a licensed medical professional. I'm purely a person who's been breeding dogs for the last couple of decades. Any information that you got from this video, use at your own risk. There's nothing implied here, and certainly this should not be used as a substitute for advice from your veterinarian or your medical professional. I hope you enjoyed the video. Come back for more of them. Bye.